Okay, mute 好了。哦，
呢度有雜音，有回音。得啦，OK 得。Okay, let's take a few minutes, and I got some setting that I still need to do. Very complicated system, and let me just turn on outside. Okay, welcome everyone, and welcome to our Tuesday evening Dharma talk and meditation. I'm very happy that Venerable De Hong has accepted our invitation to do an English class twice a month now, both the first and the third Tuesday night. So let me quickly turn the podium over to Venerable De Hong.
Okay, thank you, Danny. Good evening, everyone, wherever you are. Um, so I will start with a short talk first. And the topic that I thought I chose was at the beginning, the 5 daily contemplation, but Danny reminded me to share some of my present work. So I just share with you guys, this is a picture of almost 20 guys, but I think there are not 20 in here, in Lancaster State Prison. They just graduated from their bachelor program majoring in communication from Cal State LA. As you can see on the rope. I know 3 of my students are in this cohort, and I also know quite a few because when you go in and out of the prisons, you know, people know you. So, and so this gentleman is one of them. He's graduating. He's hoping to go home in couple years. And this is another person. His mom and sister and nephew were able to come. He came from Vietnam when he came to the U.S. when he was probably, I say 7 or 8. One issue with the Vietnamese population because they were traumatized by the Vietnam War. The second issue is poverty. So parents, they usually didn't have time to teach their kids. So when they got upset, they just beat the crap out of their kids. And he was literally physically abused badly by his father. He was, there were other things, but to respect his privacy, I won't reveal anything. He is actually now also, besides graduating from Cal State LA, he's working as a substance abuse counselor. And this is another gentleman that is in my meditation class. A bit about this guy. His name is Tony because he has been out for 2 years. He also came from Vietnam. When he was in Vietnam, I think 5 or 6 years old, his father left him to his grandma. His father traveled to Thailand to find work. So his grandma and uncle took care of him, but his uncle physically beating the crap out of him badly. And then a few years later, his father came back to Vietnam and took him, escaped Vietnam and came to the US. He settled in Long Beach, and his father had to work, so he did not know anyone. He also had a learning disability, I believed. And he joined the gangs from Long Beach, and mostly, as you guys probably know, there are lots of Cambodians living in Long Beach. He was involved in one of the gangs shooting, and he was sentenced as an adult even though he was a juvenile. So I think more than 2 years ago, when he appealed his case, and I also was invited to testify on his behalf about his transformation. And the one thing about the court is that, Buddhism, right, is a religion supposedly, but the judges have allowed me in 3 instances to speak on the changes of the incarcerated persons. So after I spoke, and of course, there were other changes that he made, and the judge ordered him released immediately. But of course, it took him a week to go home. He was united with his father, and we hung out a couple times. And he just graduated from Cal State LA as well, and he's pursuing a master in sociology. I just got this picture a couple nights ago, and because he wanted to share with me. So that was a bit on my work inside the prison. So tonight, was it 2 weeks ago, when I spoke of how we tend to cling to our six senses. We tend to receive a lot of data and information, or preoccupy our mind with all kinds of information, and that our brain has no time to process all the data. So that's the one thing for you guys out there to keep in mind, to, let's say, figure out time, invest in your mental health, just so that your brain can recover and it will improve your mental health. So I just came back from the prison today. I'll stay offline from social media until Sunday. I need time to, not just to recuperate, but just to be by myself and to meditate and to study. And so that's my behalf. I don't want to spend time doom scrolling. I have a tendency to do that too. But anyway, tonight's topic is the 5 daily contemplations. I think that it's important for all of us, especially for those of you who became Buddhist, or those of you who came to Buddhism for your spirituality, or I call them spiritual seekers. So what is it about the 5 daily contemplation? So there was a sutta that was taught by the Buddha. It's called refinement. It's in the Anguttara Nikaya 3.38. So upon his awakening, the Buddha reflected on his life as a kid, and he realized that he was protected by his father, King Suddhodana, from all the sufferings, right? However, his father could not protect him from aging, from getting older, from impermanence, which is one of the major topics taught by the Buddha. And here, so he said, when an untaught person himself subject to aging, and of course illness and death, and sees another being who is getting older or ill or dead, he is horrified, humiliated, and disgusted, oblivious to the reality that he himself is subject to aging, illness, and death. And the Buddha, at first, when he saw, as you guys have heard, when he witnessed the foresight, right? An old person, a sick person, and a dead person, and then an ascetic. And he was Gautama at the time. He was also horrified, and when after his enlightenment, he noticed that, because this happened to all of us, when we look at especially in America, in the Western world, we don't show pictures of older people. We don't want to deal with them. We put them in nursing home, mind you. But that's our society, because it's an inconvenience for us to take care of our elderly. I'm not saying this for I'm not saying this for everyone, but the majority of us, we do that. So when you look at the Buddha, he was raised basically in absolutism, and protected by his father. He was denied the opportunity to face the reality, to face the reality of life. And when he actually witnessed aging, illness, death, and ascetic, it awakened him to search for more in life, and eventually his enlightenment. And after his enlightenment, he was able to fully understand what aging means, illness, and death. And for some of us out here, some parents did what they could to protect their kids from also seeing the reality, and that's Dr. Mark Epstein called absolutism. And some of those who were never exposed to trauma as kids. So according to Dr. Mark Epstein, therapists deal with clients who speak of how trauma robs the victim of absolutisms of daily life. The myth that we live by that allow us to go to sleep at night and trusting that we will wake up tomorrow in the morning. And yeah, for most of us, we will, but for few, they don't. So absolutism reveals an important link between the Buddha's teaching and today's psychotherapists. And the Buddha, in most of his teaching, he emphasized over and over again the contingent nature of the universe, meaning life is transient, chaotic, and impersonal, fluxed. So just a couple questions for you guys to contemplate on. In your childhood, if you were raised in protectiveness by your parents, meaning absolutism, and if that's the case, then how have you adjusted to the reality of life as an adult? Something to contemplate on. So what are the 5 contemplations? And this is part of the chanting in the Theravada temples. I lived in a Theravada temple in 2014. I was also ordained in that tradition, and this was in our a bit of in our chanting, and we did it. But I think most of us just did it for the sake of chanting, but we didn't really contemplate on it or learn about it. I was guilty. I was guilty as it is. And so what here's what it is I'm of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I'm of the nature to have ill health. There's no way to escape that. I'm of the nature to die. There's no escape. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature to change, and that I would be separate from them. And my actions are my only true belongings. I cannot escape the consequences of my actions. My actions are the ground upon which I stand, meaning our own karma. Karma means action. So these are the 5 daily contemplation that I figure that it can be helpful to all of us consider the world that we live in. And the Buddha continued, a disciple of the noble ones, basically of the Buddha, should consider this: I'm not the only one subject to aging. All beings, sentient beings, are subject to aging. When we reflect on this, then it helps us to be diligent to stay on this path, the Eightfold Path, develop it, cultivate it. The feathers are abandoned, the obsessions are destroyed, and then one could be on their way to enlightenment. And also further, I'm not the only person subject to illness. Of course, this is similar to the one prior that was aging. This is dealing with illness, and the next one is, of course, death. But and the last one is the result of our karma or actions, and everyone is subject to that. So I'm showing you a picture. So for the past 13 years, I spent basically half of my time inside the prison, driving to the prisons, writing letters, sending courses, this and that. I thought I did a lot of good, right? But then on August 24th, 2021, I was on my way to Lancaster, which I went today, Tuesday. It was a Tuesday. And I did a lot of good that day too. A couple who were we are still friends. They had COVID, as you guys know. We were in COVID, and I just resumed visiting Lancaster or the 3 prisons because I was able to return in July. So the couple contacted me because they caught COVID, so they couldn't go anywhere. So I offered to buy food for them. They pay me back. So because they live halfway to the prison, and after I drop off the food for them, I just got on the highway and 7 miles, exit 37. I never forget, exit 37. The traffic was stopped on the highway. There were 3 lanes on North 14. So I get to stop on the far left lane, and I looked into the rear view mirror. There was this huge pickup truck, Ford 19, I believe 1999. I saw the guy, and I said to myself, I hope he stopped. And in my mind, and before I had a chance to finish my thought, he crashed right into me. And luckily, I had some space between my car and the cars in front of me, at least like, I think almost 10 feet. So I pulled over to the median, as you guys see right here. He hit me, he hit me once, and then because of the impact of his car, he hit me again the second time. So I hit my head against the back of my seat. So the whole day I got this whiplash, bong. I heard bong, bong, bong in my head the whole for a few hours, but I survived. I called my sister. I saw my brother in everyone. My 2 other brothers were working, and my brother-in-law was home, so he came to pick me up. The cops came. The one thing that bugs me a little bit, it was the driver who hit me. He did not say sorry. And he got my information, I got his information, and the cops came, and that was it. The cops offered me to go to the local hospital, but I said I'll wait for my brother because, if I were to go to the emergency in Lancaster, it would take forever, and then, who would take me home? So anyway, I got home. I get an MRI, and I'm okay. A couple of my friends, who freaked out because when their friends had car accident or hit their head, they die from bleeding. But luckily, my brain survived, and to this day, I'm still okay. I have a bit of anxiety when I look into the rear view mirror, so I try not to look at it when cars are behind me. And one thing that I learned is that never drive on the far left lane, especially when you have four or five. I stay away from it since then. If there are two lanes, then I have no choice. But for the most part, I have been keeping my speed under the limit or within the limit. If I have to pass someone, then I go a little bit faster. But I survive. The reason that I said this because I had another friend. He and his wife were involved in a car, and his wife complained about the pain in her shoulders. She went to the doctor. The doctor gave her opioid, and she got addicted. A year later, she died from it. She was 44. She left behind five children. Her youngest son was 3 years old at the time. That was, I believe, 2023. But I'm grateful, since then I survived. Another thing that I also survived, right? Thinking that, hey, I did a lot of good. I shouldn't be subject to any trauma. Hell no. So back in my old property, I lived next door. We share next door to a guy with psychosis or schizophrenia. We share a driveway. That was our problem. Our houses were separated by like 10 feet. And he constantly, for 3 years, from 2020, the pandemic, to July 21, 2023, he constantly, once a week, coming over to my house, accusing me of breaking into his house, gassing him. He couldn't breathe. So on the night at 2 a.m. of July 21st, he had an AR-15 on his right hand and a sledgehammer on his left, swerving both of them in front of my house. My Ring camera, thanks to my brother who installed it, caught 90 seconds of it. And at the time it was 2 a.m., so I just couldn't call 911 because he went back to his house. When I when I showed that to the cop came and got him. But I called the cops so many times, 5 times, but they never did anything because, of course, we don't have laws, state or federal laws dealing with people with mental illness. But I'm glad that I survived that. And right after that, I sold the old property and I moved away from it. And he spent 2 years in the jail waiting for his case, and the judge just ordered him released. And he was back at the old property. I'm glad that I'm out of there. I don't have to deal with him. So the question for you guys to think about is that, hey, how are you dealing with aging? How are you dealing with illness of your own or your loved ones? What about death? Of course, not your death, but your loved ones' death. That's grief or loss, right? And what about separating from your family? What about, are you mindful of your speech and actions, even your thoughts? Even if you are financially prepared, are you emotionally prepared for all of this? I do know that a lot of folks, they are financially prepared, but when their loved ones, the wealthy one, right, or even the one that can afford funeral, they are not emotionally prepared. The other verse that are chanted in the Mahayana temples. So I just gave you guys the Theravada chanting. Now here is the Mahayana temples chanting in both Chinese and Vietnamese. So basically, in brief, because I want to save time, each day that passes by, we our lifespan is shorter. So it's like we are like fish trapped in a puddle or in a bowl. So don't be complacent, you know, and that we must, what is there to have fun, what is there to be happy about, and and basically the verse urging every one of us to practice mindfulness, or the Buddha's teaching for liberation with the utmost urgency, the same urgency as if your head was caught on fire, and always, be mindful of impermanence, and know that we have no time to waste. So that, and I in this is chanted in all the Mahayana temples every day at 3 p.m. However, again, I was as guilty of that as well. Most people just did it for the sake of the chanting, but not really reflecting or practicing. So for those of you, for meditators, spiritual seekers, you know the urgency to study and practice, be diligent. We have no time to waste, and practice mindfulness. A bit on Mark Epstein's book, The Trauma of Everyday Life, because this is related to chapter 3. Because with trauma or with any stress, major stress, it forces us to deal with the reality of life. And when it happened to us, it's not personal, it's impersonal. And that's the world that we live in. And Robert Stolo Rowe said that traumatized individuals cannot help but perceive aspects of existence that lie well outside the absolutized horizons of normal everyday life. And we feel powerless, we feel helpless. Our inability to exist independently and absolutely in the way that we might wish. When I was traumatized by my ex-neighbor, I felt powerless, I felt helpless, but no one could help me. No one. People kept telling me to move, but how? It was not practical. So basically, the Buddha's teaching help us to deal with trauma or to make it tolerable, and the Buddha always used death as a way to nudge people out of their egocentric complacency. So in a sense, his teaching help us to traumatize or desensitize with all the issues that we have to deal with. And again, stress or trauma continue to shape us depending whether we are able to face it or avoid it. We tell ourselves things shouldn't be this way. That means that we live in denial. But feeling our ways into the ruptures of our lives let us become more real. Our mind is in a balanced enough place to hold it. I have a case of a 90-year-old lady who I have been have known since 2021. She was married, she had a son and a daughter. She was divorced and remarried. Her son, when he was 18, he moved to California. She has been living in North Carolina. Her daughter died in 1977 when she was 16 in a car accident. Her son moved back with her for a little bit to deal with grief, but then he moved back to California. But then he's end up in prison. All her siblings, all four of her siblings died. Her second husband died in 2019. She was hoping that her son, when he was released in October of 2021, to be with her. However, within a year, he died of liver, lung, and brain cancers. So for her, it was not fair. She's an Episcopal Episcopalian. She went to church. She didn't understand why it happened to her, and she was even afraid to question God. I'm like, of course you can. You can question the Buddha. You can question God. Why this is happening to her? But she survived for the past 3 years. I text her every day. I speak to her almost every night. She's still driving. She's not taking any medication, and she does have one nephew that she can depend on. So so how was the Buddha's teaching, compared to modern therapists? It does help modern therapists to deal with their clients because the issues are quite similar. And the Buddha said, to his to people who came to him that you have come to the one who is able to be your shelter and refuge. And for therapists, they are the shelters, they are the refuge. And Michael Eigen, a psychoanalyst, he said if one's emotional reality or truth is despair, what is important is not the one that may be in despair, but one's attitudes to one's despair, to one's basic attentiveness. One's despair can declare itself and tell its story. One enters profound dialogue with it. If one stays with this process, an evolution even in the quality of despair may begin to be perceived, since despair is never uniform, meaning talk about your trauma, talk about your issues to a therapist or someone that you can trust. So in conclusion, understand the 5 daily contemplation and how you learn to manage the issues that you have faced, and be diligent, because in life there's nothing is guaranteed. And I put a link here that I watched from Guardian.com. The title of this documentary is Mom Okay? Apparently, there are 1 million young caregivers in the UK. Some of them are as young as 12 years old. When you guys have time, watch it. Because you're not alone if you are suffering. Um, all of us, we deal with a lot of issues. It's a matter of perspective. And not use mindfulness, use your practice, and learn how to manage. You may not overcome your trauma or your grief, but you learn how to cope with it. Perhaps one day you can overcome it. And that's all I have for now. So let's move over to meditation. Let's take some deep breath as you adjust your posture, whether you are sitting or standing or lying down. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth deeply. And tell yourself to relax. Let go of your thoughts, thinking, planning, fear, worry. Everything that you encounter since this morning, this past week, past month, put them aside. Tell yourself that you are safe, and tell your brain that you are safe. So your brain does not have to be in hypervigilant mode. Once you are done, then breathe normally through your nose. Allow your body to settle. Check your posture again. Start with a smile. Notice how you feel. How that feeling gives rise to the physiological sensations in your body. you notice that your feeling and the sensations are fading away, disappear. Then see what you feel next. Let's continue with the sense door practice. First, notice the environment that you're in. If you're in a room, just be aware of the room. And see if you can feel the space surrounding your body. You might be able to feel a couple inches away. Use your body to feel it. And use your body to feel the room temperature. Meaning, turn off the mind chatter that this is too cold, too warm, too windy. Turn that off. Using your awareness, check in with your mind and see how busy it is. Or is it settled? Is your mind wandering out of the room? Bring it back. Your feeling, your emotion, your mood, your attitude. Notice what you can hear in each moment. Noise, sound. Whether you are reacting to it or letting it be. Your sense of seeing, smell, and taste. See that these three senses during meditation are not active, since there isn't anything to trigger them. And your sense of touch in the body, see how the clothes that you wear feel on your body. The sensual practice helps you to stay grounded and centered, that you can do anywhere, anytime, so you don't get distracted easily or feel overwhelmed when you're getting triggered. Let's bring your awareness to your breath. Let's breathe for 1 minute to relax your body and calm your nervous system. When we feel sad or angry, it triggers the sympathetic nervous system and it causes problems in your internal organs. But when you take the time to just breathe, whether you are sitting or standing, it will trigger the parasympathetic nervous system and regulates most of your internal organs. And it brings your body to a state of resting flow. Let's continue to stay with the breath. Let's use this time to process the thoughts in your conscious mind. On average, we have some 50,000 thoughts a day, and a lot of these thoughts are not helpful. Some could even be harmful. So let's make a conscious effort with your mindfulness Allow the thoughts to come up one at a time and make your decision, basically letting it go. You see that your thoughts are continually coming and going. Try not to follow them. Let them pass. You are the observer. The thoughts, the memories, feelings, issues, people, they are the objects being watched. The more thoughts you let go, the stronger is your power of awareness or mindfulness. See if there's any negative self-talk, because they stay in your default mode network. Something such as, I don't like myself, I hate myself, I don't like my look, this and that. Flush them out and promise yourself not to repeat them. Images of your loved ones, when they appear, put them aside. They will always be there. If you have a negative view of someone or something, let that go. Don't add to the negativity in your conscious mind. If someone hurt you in the past, let that go. Let go of that person as well. See if there's any fear or worry, let it go. Don't waste time and mental energy thinking about someone or worrying about somebody. Fear of the future or unknown leads to anxiety, so let it go as well. See if there's any craving or clinging. Know that craving and clinging could have a negative effect on your physical and mental health. Even clinging to certain view, be it political, be it religious, cultural, could cause a lot of conflicts. If you feel stressful, then take time, a bit of a time to investigate why, and see if you could let it go or manage it. Is there any anger or sadness from years or decades ago that still lingers in the back of your mind? Using your mindfulness, you can investigate after and see if you could let it go. And this is how you purify your mind, just as you would clean your house, your room, taking care of your physical body. You do the same for your conscious mind, for your mental health. And the more thoughts you let go, the stronger is your mindfulness or your power of mindfulness. And more space you have in your conscious mind, you have less thoughts. Let's now turn your attention to your feeling. See how your feeling comes and goes. Whatever that you feel, it's okay. Acknowledge it and let it pass. Whether you feel pleasant or unpleasant, when those feelings come from your body or your senses, those are the mundane feelings. When you meditate for some time and you're able to feel calm and peaceful from within, that is the super mundane feeling that you experienced. It's super mundane because it's the result of your practice. It does not come from your body or senses. And this is the practice of mindfulness of feeling. It enables you to be present, to deal with all kinds of feelings. And know that don't let others dictate how you feel. It's basically your reaction to positive feelings and negative feelings. But with mindfulness, you're able to manage all of them. Continue to stay with the breath. Let's practice compassion for yourself. Compassion is your ability to recognize when you're under a lot of stress or dealing with difficult issues and people, that you know how to care for yourself instead of reacting or making it worse. This is a mental training of the mind. You are planting the seed of compassion in your conscious mind. So as you are sitting, you can repeat some of the following phrases. May I recognize any stress, difficult issues, and people that I experienced. May I not react to any of them. May I not say or do anything to harm myself and others. And may I love myself unconditionally. Just keep repeating these phrases to cultivate compassion for yourself, to treat yourself with unconditional love and kindness. And allow these phrases to replace the negative self-talk that you just let go. So that these phrases will go into the default mode network. Meaning that whenever you're under a lot of stress, you know how to treat yourself with compassion. And see how you feel when you treat yourself with unconditional love and kindness. See how you feel right now, and how that affects your body, your emotions at the moment. May I recognize any stressed, difficult issues and people that I experienced. May I not react to any of them. May I not say or do anything to harm myself and others. May I love myself unconditionally. Just continue to offer yourself compassion for the next couple minutes in silence. Let's check in with your mind again using your mindfulness and see how your mind is, perhaps settled, clear spaces, that your mind is filled with mindfulness, concentration, patience, and compassion that you just cultivated. Your feeling, your emotion, your mood, your attitude at the moment. With that, I hand it over to Danny. Thank you.
Thank you, Venerable. There's so much to discuss. Well, anyway, let me start by saying that most of the time when we talk about Buddha's teaching, the historical Buddha, Sycamore, we talk about compassion, loving kindness, empathy, equanimity. We talk about wisdom and forgiveness and all that. And what we don't talk about, and I actually believe that is the most important teaching of the historical Buddha, was actually equality. That we are all created equal, not just human species, but all beings, all living beings, all sentient beings.
Mm-hmm.
And so you when you talk about the five contemplation, and let me go back to see if I could find it. And it talks about growing old. It talks about being sick. It talks about dying, not just our own death, but then the death of those around us. And then finally, it is the most important part, which is that my action is my only true belongings. There's you mentioned different sayings in the Mahayana tradition, and one of the tradition is that when you die, there's no belonging. You can't take anything with you. Doesn't matter how much money, how much real estate, how much stock, whatever, or how much love you have in this world, how much hate you have in this world. You can't take any of that with you. The only thing you can take is your karma. And you mentioned that karma is action. It's actually both a record and an action. So whatever you do, it's kept as a record, and then it's also action. It affects whatever that you do later. And so out of that out of that 5 contemplation, the last one is says your action, my action is my only true belonging. Is I cannot escape the consequence of my action. My action are the grounds upon which I walk. He is actually talking about equality. He's actually talking about equality. Now, I just did a Google search because I wanted to make sure that because I remember reading, and I just asked the question to Gemini, and I said, is there an ongoing lawsuit in America about caste discriminations among Indians, Indian Americans? And the answer is yes. There's been major ongoing litigation in the United States regarding caste discrimination. There are 2 cases, and the first one is the one are suing Indians suing against other Indians inside Cisco corporations. And now, as it turns out, many of their high technology companies in the Silicon Valley now have CEOs who are Indian descent. Now, we might think that all Indians are the same, but they're not. You will find that most of those who are in leadership position, they're in the upper caste. Whereas a lot of the contract laborers, those who came here on an H-1B visa or whatever, they are at a much lower caste. And so what they're saying is that there's discriminations among them, that those who are from the lower caste have a lot less opportunities for upward mobility. This is real. This is actually in the court right now since the year 2020. So it's been 6 years. They're litigating now for the last 6 years. They're doing discovery right now. They haven't started litigation yet. So if that's the case, 2,600 years after Buddha was born, what do you think it was like back in those days? And what do you think were the most important problem confronting Buddha? Was inequality.
Yeah.
I mean, on one hand, he sees death, he sees sickness, he sees decay and all that, and he realized that they're the same. It doesn't matter whether you are rich or powerful or not. You still have to confront with all these things that are inescapable. And so he has to ask himself, so what is it that separates us? What is it that they're separating us? And so you have to understand that the background. I remember a couple of years back, I was traveling in Japan, and they were getting ready for the Olympic. I believe it was the Winter Olympic. I don't think it was the Summer Olympic. Or maybe it was. I don't know that much about it. But I do remember visiting Japan, that they were in the midst of a huge remodeling effort, and they were removing all the Buddhist religious symbol, the one that looks like the one that's used by Nazi Germany. They didn't want people to confuse them. Now, that symbol has been around, it's anywhere from 6,000 to maybe 12,000 years old. It's there for a long, long time. Nobody knows exactly where they came from, but they probably came from people who had connections with beings that are not of us, and so this is part of the religion, part of the North Indian religion, not Buddhist, but much deeper than that. And so in India, the reason why you have castes is because the occupiers were actually Europeans. They were Aryans. That's why Hitler decided that he wanted to use the same symbol, because he thought of himself as Aryans, and they think that they are also the descendants of the heaven beings. And so, and I mean, this is history book. This is a history book that India were much of the Indians now that are in power, that are of lighter skin, they were Europeans. And then much of the people who were in the lower caste were the original people, and they are the slaves. And so when Buddha saw all that, he took it upon himself to explain why that is not acceptable. And he does it in a very profound way, which is that all beings are equal, that we are subjected to our death, illness, and all that. But the most important thing he said is that karma is not fixed.
Mm-hmm.
So the the thinking at the time, or at least the system that they have that allows them to control their population, is that your karma is fixed. So if you were born in an upper caste, it's because you have always been in upper caste. There's nothing you can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you were born in the lower caste, then you have always been the lower caste. And there's nothing you can do about that, except that you just have to endure until, it's like wearing off your bad karma, until you're pure again. And so I think Buddha basically sat out and said, no, that is not true. Your karma is your own doing, which means that if it's your own doing, then it's something that you can actually change. So you could be born in a lower caste. There's nothing that says that you couldn't in the future, by being wholesome. We talked about that last time, wholesome and unwholesome, that you
Mm-hmm.
can change that. So I think this is the most profound teaching of Buddha, that we are all equal, irrespective of our skin color, irrespective of our origin of birth, irrespective of our family health, irrespective of our education. Our karma is our only baggage, only luggage, and only thing that we carry with us. And that's why we do what we do, is that our destiny can be changed, not by some other entity. So the true Buddhist teaching has no worshiping. We're not depending on someone else to forgive us. There's no forgiving. There's repentance, that you say to yourself, oh, I'm not going to do it anymore. That was wrong,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's the same as when you're in prison, right? This is what they do inside the prison, is that you have to repent to your wrong deed, but don't expect someone to forgive you.
Actually, they have to express their remorse to themselves, but they cannot contact the victims
Yes,
and
that's right.
express their remorse.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
It's not part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot say, I want to be, I want to have an opportunity to be with my former victim or their family because I want to beg forgiveness. That is
No,
not part of the conversation.
no,
You are not entitled to that.
no. You are never
But
forgiven, basically.
you're never
That's
forgiven. There's no
yeah.
such thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can do more good deeds, and so there is repentance. Absolutely,
Yeah.
that you have to realize what you do is wrong, and don't do it again going forward.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then do more good deeds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do more good deeds. So I think that's my take when I look at the five contemplation. is that most of the time people concentrate on the first four, which is that, yeah, you're going to die. Okay. No problem. No question about that. And you're going to get sick. Yeah. And then people, and guess what? Not only are you going to die, the people around you are going to die too.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's not really his main thing. His main thing is
Right.
actually on equality,
Mm-hmm.
that we're all entitled to our own karma,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that we all have the freedom to change. And so the question is, how do you change? Can you put that slide up? I thought that was interesting.
With the
The one I
five
just
things
text you. The one I just text you. The one about depression, stress, and anxiety.
you text me something.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. Give me 1 second.
Okay, so
Okay, let me bring up my.
the reason I cannot post it. So the way the Zoom works is that if I post it, it changes everything on my screen.
Yeah, it's okay. Let me bring it
Yeah.
up.
So then the people outside cannot see it properly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I have it up. Let me share it right here.
Okay, so this is not exactly, but it's a pretty good start about Buddhist teaching, because we always talk about mindfulness, which is, pay attention to your breath, pay attention to your body. In my training, we're very specific. When you don't move, which means that when you sit, when you stand, when you lie down, then you always anchor your mind on your breath. So we call that mindfulness. But then we extend that also to when you stand up and walk, or when you exercise, then you should focus on your body, focus on the bottom of your. Now the reason why we do that is that if your mind is not at the present, then it's either in the past or in the future. And so a lot of the emotional difficulty that we have is that we spend too much time on the past thinking about a pain, but it's really the memory of a pain, a memory of a suffering, because whatever it is that causes the suffering, causes the discomfort, causes the anger, and all that is already gone. We're just focusing on the memory of that. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you want to, this is one way to understand Buddhist teaching, is that your destiny is your own choice. It's your own, and so by not focusing so much on the past, you have less a chance of further your suffering, because if you spend too much time on the past, it becomes depression. That's one reason. Um, and then similarly, in the future and so forth. So that I just thought maybe that's a good way,
Mm-hmm.
if that helps. Now, what somebody says here in a comment, it says a lot of people think of Native Americans, Indians, when they hear the word Indians. Well, that is the fact.
Mm-hmm.
Blame that on Columbus. So. I just call them. I don't actually call them Indians. I mean, I did when I was a little kid, back in the days in Macau, and I was watching the cowboy movies. Then that's what they call it. Well, it's in Chinese, but it's basically that. It's Indians, but I haven't done that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
there's there's Native Americans, there's
Mm-hmm.
Black Americans, there's Chinese Americans, and so they're just Americans.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it is true that most people, when they think about Indians, that's what they think about. But I don't know. So sometimes they added the word Southeast Asian. That would work too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then that combines essentially Indians and Pakistanians and so forth. Well, it's complicated. Language is complicated. Okay, any
Except,
comments, especially from Insight Timer? We have 76 meditators on Insight Timer and a whole bunch on YouTube and Facebook. Any comments? I think there is one. So I hear a chime. Where is it? I don't see it. Okay, so actually, yeah. So we'll be back. We'll be back
July 7.
July 7th. Okay, it's first. It just works out. It's first Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
First Tuesday of July. Okay. All right. So happy that you're able to increase your. It's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope I could help, so folks out there.
Yeah, it's the right thing to do. Let's do more. Okay, let's build up
Mm-hmm.
this community. Okay, so let me turn off everything outside.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Let me see what else I need to do. There's so many buttons I have to push.